Well, for now, we say goodbye to Ahsoka, and with the strikes just now over, I mean, season 2 could be coming sooner, later. I don't expect it to be sooner, but all in all, it was a tempered finale. It wasn't something spectacular or super crazy. We got some great reveals in the process, but all in all, I would say that Dave Filoni really held a lot of cards close to his chest, as we've seen in this season, and the finale was no exception. We just got a lot of holes filled up. We got what we expected. Thrawn is now back into the real galaxy. Long live the Empire. He is going to revive it with the Imperial Remnant. As we see, Dathomir will be his new secret base of operations. It is essentially reversed now. The New Republic is the Empire, and the Empire is the Rebellion. They have a Yavin 4 situation going on with Dathomir, and with the cargo that he was, getting, we see what his plan really was. Because in episode 8, now in the finale, we fully realize what the Dathomir witches, what Thrawn was up to. The Dathomirian Great Mothers can revive dead people. So undead stormtroopers are now a thing in Star Wars. And now with the Great Mothers being able to do that, we're going to get, eventually in Season 2, we're going to get the same thing. And that was great to see. Of course, zombie troopers are officially a thing. Although I still don't believe that the shadow troopers were actually dead at first. They were revived once they were killed by Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine. They literally yelled and screamed like zombies. So they were essentially zombies. They walked like zombies. They were without a purpose. They were just lunging towards any live character, pretty much confirming what we saw in the Death Troopers novel. What was also great is those two Death Troopers that previously left with Thrawn. We were constantly asking, where are those guys? And we got an answer. But it seems like those two Death Troopers had already died on the trip, and now they were revived. Because once their mask is torn up a bit, we see underneath they are like monsters. It seems though they are not after flesh, because once one has Sabine pinned, he does not go off like a zombie. He essentially just try to choke her out. Which kind of confirms also a video I made previously about Captain Enoch. So Captain Enoch could be one of the royal guards that we saw once Palpatine ordered them to attack aboard the Chimera. Once the Temple of Lothal was destroyed by Ezra, this is when these young royal guards came in. So Captain Enoch could be the main guy that was eventually crushed under rubble by Ezra. So two possibilities for Captain Enoch. He had either survived that attack from Ezra, or he has been revived by the Great Mothers. I guess we're going to find out in Season 2. And speaking about Season 2, I was kind of disappointed to see that we still don't know what Baylan is really up to. We get a final scene with him. I mean, it was clearly inspired, I should say, by Lord of the Rings. Baylan is standing on some statues pointing to a mountain, which is completely similar to Lord of the Rings, and you clearly see what looks like Mordor in the distance. However, it's not volcanic. Something is shining, and that something is really an entity that needs to be awakened. I think this entity will eventually prove itself to be Abeloth, which we've talked about constantly. It's a new entity that will wreak havoc not only on this planet but on the galaxy as a whole. Call me naive, but I was really expecting more out of episode 8 just because of this, because Baylan's plan seems to be one of the more enticing things in this series. We know what Ahsoka wants, and we also know what Thrawn wants. Ahsoka didn't get her way really, as we see in the end. She is content. However, Thrawn got what he wanted. He wanted to get back to the galaxy. He got back to the galaxy with a new army, no less, with an Imperial remnant waiting for his return, as we see Grand Moff Gideon and the Imperial Remnant already talked about it. Captain Pelion is awaiting his master's return. Now he's got it. So expect a full-out war in season 2. But I really expected that in the midst of Ahsoka and Thrawn fighting, planning against each other, I was expecting that we were going to get an intervention by Baylan and his newfound power, or this new entity released. He would have completely destroyed any plan that they really had in their minds, because Baylan is after something more crazy and more unique than both of them, which would tie into, of course, the planning of the Great Mothers and Thrawn. He is so calculative that he didn't really calculate Baylan's offshoot plans, which would have made, of course, sense, would have, kicked Thrawn in the shin, kinda. But nonetheless, Baylan survives season 1, and this is what we talked about in a lot of videos, that now with Ray Stevenson dead, and it's clear that they did not plan on, and it's clear that they did plan on using Baylan again in season 2. Now with Ray Stevenson dead, I don't know what Dave Filoni is about to do with this character. Do they recast him with a new actor, or do they just deepfake his face just for episode 1 until this new entity perhaps consumes him or kills him altogether? He makes the ultimate sacrifice. This way you don't have to use the character much more than just, episode 1 of season 2 quickly. And I guess you can get away with that just like they did in episode 9 with Carrie Fisher and Leia. On the other side, Shin Hati has now made a new home on this planet. She is in charge of the Raiders. We saw Shin Hati, Baylan, and the Raiders work together in episode 7, so that shouldn't be a big problem for her. But indeed, the roles are now completely reversed, because on Peridea, Ahsoka, Sabine, Shin Hati, and Baylan are completely without compass. They are just trying to survive. We know that Baylan has an ultimate purpose, but Sabine, Ahsoka, and Shin Hati are just, as Thrawn said, Ronin Jedi, just roaming around this planet without any real mission or purpose. Whereas on the other side, Ezra, who escaped the planet, same as he came with Thrawn, he now left aboard the same ship. Those two guys, they have a clear purpose and plan. A neat little touch. I love that Dave Filoni paid homage to Chopper and Ezra, because Chopper was the first one to approach Ezra in his stormtrooper attire. We see that he escaped unscathed, unharmed, and it's not even clear if Thrawn actually detected or knows that Ezra has made it through with him. It seems like he did not have an idea of it, so he does not know that Ezra at least made the trip with him. All in all, I would say a great season 1. I expected more. I expected more out of the finale, because episode 7 was so great and so bombastic, and there's a lot of things happening in that episode that I thought there was more to come, like in episode 8, but we got the inevitable, I guess, with a few tweaks. We kind of suspected that Thrawn will go back. That was his mission, and he did go back. So that's the entire episode. Basically, essentially, what we got to see was what we knew would happen. Thrawn getting back to the galaxy, and just as he planned, Ahsoka got stranded. He returned. The only caveat, of course, to this is that he didn't expect Ezra to make it aboard. He again underestimated the resolve of a Jedi, especially now what we know referred to as a Boken Jedi. Sabine was really the culprit of all of this, because she got with the plan. Ezra was not planning to do this, and this is why the Great Mothers didn't predict it, because as it pertains to Ezra, he was afraid that he couldn't make this jump. It wasn't until Sabine suggested that if he jumps and she force pushes him, that he could make this trip. And this is why the Great Mothers couldn't calculate it, even Thrawn couldn't calculate it. So this is how he slipped up. Other than Ezra making it back, essentially what we got from episode 8 is just, the same as usual. We knew what would happen, and it happened. This is why I also wanted to see more out of Baylan, because Baylan was the complete wild card in this entire season, and especially in episode 8. I expected the reveal, but now we see that Dave Filoni is planning something more out of season 2, and it will probably focus on what Baylan is planning. Again, with Ray Stevenson dead, I don't know what they will do with that, but whatever the case, it was a solid, I would say, finale. Not a great finale, but just a solid finale. Going off the basis that, as I said, we knew that this would happen, and I expected a twist or a shock, but there was no real twists or shocks other than if you think that Ezra going back is so amazing, then, it is. But it's not really shocking to that point. And one last thing to mention, of course, Morgan Elsbeth is now officially dead. We see that the Great Mothers, invoked the spirit of Talzin, maybe? They rewarded her by making her more powerful, and they gave her the blade of Talzin too. However, in the end, she couldn't survive her duel with Ahsoka. She died pridefully, though, because she really stood her ground against Ahsoka. It wasn't just a one-sided fight. Ahsoka had to dig deep in order to defeat Morgan Elsbeth, wielding Mother Talzin's blade. But I get the feeling that in Season 2, Ahsoka has a much more powerful enemy coming, and that could be Baylan. If he's not absorbed by this power in Season 2, then Baylan might be coming back, and Ahsoka versus Baylan is what we deserve again. Baylan needs to die by Ahsoka's hand. I feel like they have that connection that they need to resolve everything. And of course, last but not least, Anakin Skywalker is again back. And as we see, Force ghosts can travel between galaxies, which is very interesting. So they are completely ethereal. They are not bound to just that galaxy, which is, now in retrospect, you could say, oh, well, of course, they're Force ghosts that can do anything, but in Star Wars, you never really know. You need to, dot your I's and cross your T's in the Star Wars galaxy, in the Star Wars canon, of course, which is completely official. And it was a very beautiful nod to see that Sabine feels Anakin's presence, but she does not see him. Only Ahsoka sees him in the end, same as Luke, who was the only one who saw the Force ghosts at the end of Return of the Jedi. So beautiful nod, beautiful ending to, I would say a great and solid season of Ahsoka Season 1, now Season 2. I'm expecting a lot of great things out of that season because we have, again, a full-scale galactic civil war coming, baby. We might have also Luke Skywalker coming back, which is another great possibility. And the only downside, I would say, which I will really, my stomach will hurt. I know that now they're going to devote maybe more than one episodes in Season 2 trying to get Ahsoka back into the main galaxy. If ever, because we see Ahsoka say move on, so we don't really know if they will be officially back. I have no idea right now what's going to happen, but presuming that logically they will get back to the main galaxy, I really would want just a one episode. The premiere episode sees Ahsoka start off on this galaxy, and by the end of the episode ends with Ahsoka coming back. So episode 2 starts completely on the original galaxy. That's what I would want optimistically. I would not want half the season with Ahsoka chasing away to get back, and then, only then halfway through the season we start with, the real gut material, which is Thrawn versus the New Republic, Thrawn versus Ahsoka, Luke Skywalker. This is what we want, the Avengers all coming together. That's going to be really beautiful. So, great season 1, and let me know what do you guys think down below.